Hi, and welcome to the End Times Guy podcast. My name is Lee. It's an honor and a pleasure to have you joining me on this podcast dedicated first and foremost to the glory of God. We want to be like Daniel and give God his glory. You know, wisdom and interpretation come from God. If all we're armed with is our own human logic and human understanding, we're in big trouble. We will not be able to withstand the deception of God's enemies with our own strength. You know, Lucifer is described as perfect in beauty and filled with all knowledge. The power of the angels is absolutely staggering. We are not in any way fit to compete with them. We really aren't. And, you know, God opposes the proud, but gives grace to the humble. So let's keep our heads down. Let's realize who we are. Let's acknowledge that our understanding, I mean, we're at a toddler level, if that, in these things. We want to be like Daniel. Before Nebuchadnezzar, he made it very clear that interpretation comes from God. Wisdom comes from God. That's the source. Man's wisdom, not so much, not so reliable. Harold Camping is a classic example of this. He got out his really big calculator and figured out when Jesus was returning. He's done it twice now, and he was wrong both times. Anyone that starts to say they figured out a date. Jehovah's Witnesses, by the way, calculated it 7 times. They didn't learn the first 6 times, so they went ahead and tried it again. They've been wrong 7 out of 7. JW's your scorecard looks really bad. 7 out of 7 X's. Sorry, guys, but the Bible clearly says no man, I can spell it out if you need me to, no man knows the hour. And any man who says he knows the hour, that just tells me he's a liar or he doesn't know the Bible. He's deceived or he's just a liar. Avoid such people. Have nothing to do with them. And the second thing this podcast is for is encouraging and strengthening the elect, the children of God in these wicked last days. Deception is spreading, and to my great joy and delight, persecution is coming to the Western world. We're actually getting a taste of real persecution, and I'm so excited. I'm so thrilled by this because it won't be popular. It won't be good to be a Christian. It will come at a price. If you want to say you're a Christian, well, it's going to cost you something. And that's going to deepen our faith. It's going to perfect us. It's going to refine us. I welcome it. I invite it. You know, Christianity is like a fire, and persecution is like trying to put it out with gasoline. It really makes the church blow up. And that's what we need. That's what we need. Real fire. I welcome persecution with arms wide open. I'm first, me first. So today I want to propose something. It's not thus saith the Lord. It's not something the Holy Spirit has revealed to me. It's mere speculation. I want to clarify that right off the bat. This is my own thoughts that I'm sharing with you. That's all it is. But I want you to consider it, and maybe you have your own ideas you'd like to share. Well, how do I do that? Easy. Go to MeWe. It's a new social app. It's spelled M-E-W-E, just like it sounds. MeWe. And I've started a group there called the End Times Guy. Check it out. It's an open group. You can join freely. But here's the deal. We are going to, over time, get a number of elders looking after the group, so that if there are wolves in the midst, they're removed. If there's people who are merely trolling, goodbye, we don't have time for that. If there are people who are given to arguing or lecturing, or if they're self-interested, they merely want to grow a following, goodbye, off you go. The Christians, the elect, need a safe place where they can gather and share their thoughts and strengthen one another. You know what happens when 2 of God's children come together? They're not filled with self-interest and intellectualism. They're not driven by a need to exert their own knowledge and impress others with their wisdom. They want Jesus exalted right from the pit of their belly. That's what they want. Do you know my Jesus? Yes, I do. And when two of God's children come together, they begin to get excited about who Jesus is, and it grows. We feed off each other. We encourage one another. That's the kind of fellowship we need. I see so many Christian groups online. It's like 100 people in the room all shouting and nobody's listening. They're all trying to build a following. I can't say that across the board, but I see it in many cases, trying to draw like-minded people to themselves, build a following, and impress one another with their learning. And we weren't called to lecture each other. I mean, teaching is one of the 5 spiritual gifts, but we all need to be humble. We all need to come together with meekness, treating one another better than ourselves. This is how the body of Christ is supposed to work. And if we come together in that spirit with, proper reverence and honor for Jesus, we get to grow. We get to be built up in love, and that's exciting. And that's the heart of what this group is about. And, I can't predict the future. I have no way of knowing if my desire will actually come to fruition, but that's what I desire. So join me there. Share your thoughts on what I'm about to propose to you today, which sounds a little absurd, sounds almost like an attention grab. Is Elon Musk the Antichrist? Well, let me say first off, Elon Musk is a brilliant, forward-thinking fellow. I don't think he's given to any kind of dark spirituality whatsoever. I think he's a very pragmatic thinker and a realist, and I really don't sense a lot of spirituality from him at all. So I don't look at him and say he must be the Antichrist. He's a very dark character, like Obama. Obama worked tirelessly to destroy Christianity in America. Month after month, new legislation attacking the Christian foundations of the United States of America. That's more a character I would look at by his fruits. You know them. I don't think he's smart enough to be the Antichrist by a long shot, but he certainly had the heart for it. But Elon Musk, this is where I get the idea that he could potentially be the Antichrist. Now, right now, he is working. Well, I think he's always working, that guy. One of his projects is to literally blanket the upper atmosphere with satellites. They're going to be everywhere up there. And they will form a new network where information won't travel through those cables under the ocean any longer, fiber optic cables. They will travel overhead from satellite to satellite. That's his proposal, and he's already launched quite a large number of these satellites. They're very small, solar powered, and it's a brilliant idea. It really is, and it's going to open up a lot of opportunities in the future for data transfer. That goes hand in hand with his project Neuralink. And Neuralink, I've done a previous podcast on. It's quite frightening technology where a mesh is implanted onto the brain to give the human mind access to the internet. And I'm looking at his satellite system as a kind of an internet on steroids, and this mesh as being the way to access that. So what it proposes right now is access to tremendous amounts of data instantly. With Neuralink implanted in your brain, you will be able to access information on a staggering level. And, instead of waiting for robots to develop their own kind of AI, which I don't even believe is possible. I don't believe AI, robotic intelligence or machine intelligence is properly called, will ever reach self-consciousness. They're working with ones and zeros, a two-dimensional programming code. They can learn, but it's all specified learning, all within parameters. And I don't believe they will attain real consciousness or self-awareness, but will always continue to work within the parameters established by the program. How can they exceed their programming? But I do believe AI will be something to talk about when it's piggybacked with human consciousness. True AI, what they're looking at is the singularity when it just takes off. I believe Elon Musk is on the right track. When the human mind is paired with the world, basically the piggy bank of knowledge, which Google is collecting and harvesting right now, when a human mind is connected to that, that is the singularity. And that will be man, it's staggering what is possible when the mind takes off with that fast access to information. But I've also hypothesized that with this openness to this to the human mind, with this access doorway, what is to prevent a certain dark entity from taking advantage of that? Maybe that's what this entity is waiting for, free access to the human mind. And when the mesh is set on the brain, will an entity suddenly seize control and have absolute autonomy over the mind, and by default, the body and everything else as well? I think that is a potential possibility that has to be considered. Now, Elon Musk isn't going to consider that. Neither are most scientists, because their paradigm is a materialistic world that has no supernatural, no spiritual, nothing like that. That doesn't exist. That's all religion and fairy tales. But from a creationist's perspective, that world is really there. And I'm looking at it and saying these entities are always trying to get access to us. And through the dark arts, they are able to a certain degree. How do they do that? Well, it begins with you emptying your mind. That's what it's all about. You relinquishing control to something else. Now, this Neuralink is basically going to just open the door wide. Here's access to my brain. And I think this is just the opportunity these entities are waiting for. Now, someone has to go first. Someone has to receive this Neuralink, and that person, I believe, will be empowered by the Antichrist. I believe the Antichrist is going to seize control immediately. And now you have, think about it. Lucifer is filled with all knowledge. Lucifer will have access to all the knowledge of Google. Lucifer will have a global awareness because of all these satellites spaced around the entire globe. Now, why do you think he needs everyone, both great and small, to receive a mark? Well, he's got to keep tabs on everyone, so everyone receives an RFID, or if they're part of his inner circle, they receive Neuralink, so that demons can also piggyback those people. And through this technology, he will have a sense of omniscience. He will know who's doing what in real time across the face of the whole planet. And to what degree, I don't know, but I suspect he will be able to monitor our attitudes, our alliances and allegiances, basically everything through algorithms. He will have access to pretty much all the information you could ever dream of, but it gets worse than that. It gets worse. You see, the world is in a big race right now to craft up AI military vehicles, robots, drones, four-wheel and six-wheeled transports and combat vehicles, all artificial intelligence. So when this Antichrist has access to the globe, I'm sure he will have the understanding to access anything he sees fit to, including all the world's AI-controlled military vehicles. So now you have someone who is omniscient and omnipotent to a degree, able to strike at anyone at any time he chooses. And this is a staggering and awesome degree of control. Now, the vision Daniel had was that the final beast would be unlike any other beast ever experienced in the world. It alone has teeth of iron, claws of bronze. It's horrific to look at. It makes Daniel sick for days afterwards having this vision. It sounds a little industrial, doesn't it? A little like a machine. And it led me to wonder if the final 10 kings aren't the greatest 10 corporations on the world, on the planet. And I did a podcast covering that. And one small horn will come up and transplant 3 horns. And this horn will be different from all the others. All the other kings were just little horns. This one has eyes and a mouth. Interesting. The eyes represent spiritual awareness, being able to see into the spiritual realm. Those who have eyes, let them see. Those who have ears, let them hear what the Spirit says. The eyes, I believe, are significant. They point to a spiritual awareness this final king will have, who will have great power and will be unlike the kings that came before him. So I don't know if it's Elon Musk or whoever takes this Neuralink will have, now certainly if it's embodied by the Antichrist, it will have those eyes. It will have discernment. And it will speak great blasphemies against God. Doesn't this sound, wow, like the Antichrist has all of this coming together, all of this authority and power, and he makes a great boast because, listen, he must feel like he's really something. He has global dominance. He's aware of everyone and their every movement, maybe their heart rate, their blood pressure, maybe the words they're saying through their electronic devices, and has the ability to take any life he chooses to at any time through a number of very horrific ways. It just seems to be all coming together. And Lucifer wants to be like God. That's the way he perceives himself. And I see him fabricating an ultimate realm of control on the face of the planet. If he rules the great 10 corporations, he supplants 3 of them and rules them himself. Now, this may be some kind of instant takeover of Google, Facebook, and Amazon, or who knows. 3 companies will be gobbled up by this one character, and he will have such strength, such global impact that, it's going to be terrible for those who are Christians, because he will know who they are, he will know where they are, he will be able to strike them with impunity. And that's my thought. That's a potential end time scenario that I want to put on the table for your thought. And if you have any of your own thoughts you'd like to share, I'd love to hear them. Meet me over at MeWe, the social app. You'll find the End Times Guy group there. It's an open group, free to join, but it will be shepherded, meaning arguers, people who are interested in themselves won't remain there. Thanks for joining me. God bless you.